Barbados, we must never allow present circumstances to define our future. In the past, we were known for our strong and decisive leadership, our social, economic, and political stability, and our well-educated and productive workforce. Who we become will depend on the vision and the focus we have. These series of videos will challenge us as a people to dig deep within and find our purpose. We are Refocusing Barbados.
Hello, I'm Mark, and this is Refocusing Barbados once again. And there's something that has been troubling me for a very, very long time. Please excuse my baker's hat. There's something that is playing out in our country and in politics that is very, very worrying to me. And it's this. Dr. Dennis Lowe, Chris Sinkler, Michael Lashley, those three that I know of came from very, very poor families. Like my father, he came from a poor family. He and his brother, my uncle, shared the same pants, the same shoes. They didn't have much to eat. That shows the level of depth of poverty that existed in their family. But through hard work, commitment, my father was able to pull himself out of poverty. At one time, my father worked for Purity Bakeries and Zafrin's Bakeries. And he worked for a man in St. Philip by the name of Mr. Bannister. That was in his younger years. And yet still he worked for his father, which is my grandfather, his bakery. And he would take that bread after it's baked in a basket, put it on his head, and he would walk from Meadows to Chalky Mount and all over the St. Joseph. My father was also a farmer, gardener, butcher. My mama really worked hard. And we came up as children appreciating hard work. But we also had a deep sense of appreciation for people who are poor. Because my father came up poor, my relatives were poor, my mother came from a poor family, but because of hard work, because of application and dedication, my father was able to pull himself out of that. Dr. Dennis Lowe, the same way, he came out of poverty. Very poor family. But being in the right place at the right time, he was able to put himself up, did a doctorate, into politics. Chris Sinkler came out of a poor family, Michael Lashley came out of a poor family. But you know what is bothering me about all of this? Their behavior in government does not reflect their origins. They have become totally disconnected to their past. And what I'm seeing from them is a behavior which we all have typified for a lot of black people. When they make it, they kick them the ladder. They trample those who are beneath them. I am blessed and my family is blessed to have a bit more than most people. Yes. But if there's one thing that we have always learned, and one thing that my father, and my aunts, and my uncles have always taught us, is that no matter how much we have, how little it is, it can be shared. And so I'm always concerned about the welfare of poor people, I've always been concerned about people who are oppressed, people who are having difficulty just making ends meet. And when I reflect on the behavior of these three ministers, all I can say is that it is disgraceful and distasteful to see what they have become, or to see what they're doing. It is a total disgrace. Dr. Dennis Lowe, for instance, and his behavior in all of the layoffs and what has transpired, what he has done to the people at the NCC is bad, it's terrible. When he looks for people to lay off, those people who were there for 8 and 9 years, he sent them home. These people would have had a reasonable expectation. No person who goes into a job for 3 months can walk into any financial institution and get a loan. So these people who've been there for 8, 9 years or more, they have had commitments already. They've had loans. They've had commitments with their family. And to send them home before the set shows an uncaring attitude. And if Chris Sinkler is behaving the way he's behaving, not unlike Dr. Dennis Lowe, he's a part of that trio too, behaving in the same awful, disgraceful, and distasteful manner. He's incapable of managing this economy, but still pretends he can. And it's obvious to all of us that Chris Sinkler doesn't know what he's doing. But in every decision he makes, those who are affected are poor people. And you would believe that he, coming from a poor family, would understand what it means to struggle. He should understand better than anybody else what it means to be poor, and his first job should be to protect the poor. Because as a Minister of Finance, his duty is to look after the entire nation, but more so, look after those who are not fortunate. And so today we have people who will be put out of work because of his lack, his inability to manage the economy. Michael Lashley's behavior, same way, deplorable. And these are three men that have come, as I said, from poor families. So you want to tell me now that they have reached this stage in life and they don't care about anybody who's down there? I've heard Owen Arthur said this from a political platform. And I quote him, "I came into politics so that poor people will stop being poor." Can I say the same thing for these three men who came out of poverty like Mr. Arthur? It seems as though their duty is to make sure that poor people remain poor and get poorer. If you look at their action in relation to what Mr. Arthur said and what he has done as a Minister of Finance and Prime Minister. And these three men ought to be ashamed of themselves. And when I think of these three men, all I can say to myself is, oh, what conflicted souls they are. I'm sure these men are having serious difficulties with themselves. Because a man cannot stray from his past in a negative way and be comfortable with himself. There must be conflict within. And the sooner they settle this conflict within themselves, the better it would be for them. But while they are behaving in this manner, a whole country of people is hurting. We are hurting. We are reading from this. And every time we get some news, it is bad news. I do not appreciate a man or a woman who has been poor. then rise to the level of being in a better position financially or socially, and then doesn't care about those who are poor or don't care about those who are left behind. There's something else that is bothering me. Every time I drive through the Pine, there is a construction project just before the Pine Hill Dairy. And I heard, I understand, it's costing $80 million to build. And I asked my wife early one morning on the way to the airport, what could be in there that can cost $80 million? What is it about that project that will cost $80 million? I would like to have an investigation into that project to let me understand, let me know what it costs, why it costs $80 million to build that. $80 million is a lot of money. And now I understand, my good friend was announced today, that there's going to be a workshop built for $22 million. The worst thing you can do, right, is put money in the hands of people who don't appreciate it. If you want to waste it, put it in the hands of people who don't appreciate it or who don't understand it. So $80 million in the BWF project in the Pine, and now another $22 million in another project. And you understand, this project is a workshop. But I don't believe the workshop will come on stream because all that is PR. Just to make people believe something is happening. It comes hot on the heels of the downgrade when Moody's. I believe that's the government's PR machine at work. But let's say it comes into reality. What kind of workshop maybe the build a Barbados that costs $22 million? Huh? You repair human parts? That you want an agency? But that would be very costly. This government is taking us for a ride. These people think we are stupid. But there's a tragedy that exists in all of this. In the 1990s, when South Africa was doing this foolishness, the people had an alternative. Can we say we have an alternative now? That's the question I'm going to throw to you. And if you think we have an alternative, like us on Facebook and communicate that to us. We would love to know what the alternative is. We here at Refocusing Barbados, we are working hard every day. We are hard at work trying to bring the issues to our people, our country for discussion. We are working hard to refocus our attention and to deal with the seemingly high and deep level of fear that exists among us. The fear is a real thing. People are afraid to lose their jobs. People in the government service are afraid to lose their jobs. But this is what I want to ask. You think the government that they all follow with it? Is it possible for the government to lay off every person in government service because they come out and speak out against what the government is doing and the government's poor behavior and poor management? Impossible. But there is something else that we in Refocusing Barbados want you always to keep before you. That we, the people of Barbados, are 260 70,000 strong. They in government are 16 weak. If you had gone on the battlefield, right, and there were 16 of you on the battlefield, and you look over there and you see an army of 270,000, tell me what you would do. You won't be able? Yes, if you 16 on the guy, fight against 270,000, that's like Barbados trying to fight China, the war with China. So when we afraid, we have to stand up, we got to rise up, we got to get up and carry the fight to this government. And listen to me, man. We're not destroying the hopes of our people, the dreams of our young people, right? When I can't manage it, we ain't asking for the magic. You're going to demonstrate when we can't manage it. Come, stop this whole thing. Come, get out of the office. Bolt. You see, the other thing is that we have to be careful with is when we have a nation of young people who have stopped dreaming. See those young people? They will die on our hands. They live when they dream. Because if you don't dream, you will die. We have to get our young people dreaming again. Dreaming of an education at UE. Dreaming after UE that they can get a good job in the country in which they were born. We have to get our young people to dream of participating in the economic activity of this country and become meaningful citizens of the country and to participate in it at the highest level. That is what we have to help our young people to do. We cannot go ahead and leave our young people behind because the future is about them. We are the present, they are the future. And any parent will tell you, it ain't what me know, it's about my children. And it's obvious that this government has no plan for the future of our children. They plan to do one thing. Stay in power. And the plan we should have is to get them out of power. We are 270,000. We are 16. Do the math. They need to be afraid. If they see all of you coming, so that means that the block they get weak. They can't handle me. Because what you have to understand, right? Every 5 years, the politicians come to the 270,000 and say, I beg them, I give you before. Because they know they can't do that before we. And now as they get in, the first thing to do is forget me. You realize that? During election time, every politician has ears. Every politician has ears. He can listen, he can talk trash, he can talk bilge, he can listen. But as the election done, you know what happened? The first thing he loses is his ears. He can't hear one of them no more. And you know what I'm saying? I can tell you something though. I can tell the politicians, I can tell the government something that you know they can listen to. We are 270,000, you're only 16. It is numbered. Thank you. Like us on Facebook. Contact us. We want to have the conversation.